Hello, my name is Wasim. I'm a third-generation Palestinian refugee. I was born in Lebanon, and I was raised between Syria and Gaza. I fled the civil war in Lebanon in 1983 with my mother. And for the time that I remember growing up, my childhood, my memories of my childhood are bits and pieces. I remember my grandmother vine tree in the village of Haytarun, south of Lebanon. I remember those small streets and bean vendors in the Yarmouk refugee camp in Syria. And I remember this feeling, you know, when sand gets between your toes, when I used to play football barefoot with my cousins in Gaza. Peace was, I was never planning to become a peace builder. It's not a title, it's not a job. People don't understand that this is my life. This is me. You know, I believe that a lot of people in this room have something worth fighting for. And for me, nothing really prepared me for fatherhood. Growing up, peace was never on my agenda. I remember I've only started to think about peace when my first child was born. And I used to drive in the streets with my newborn, and there were bombs falling from the sky on our heads in Gaza. And for weeks, I worked for the Red Cross. I witnessed my city turned into ashes. And for the years after, Gaza, this beautiful place that I used to love, became a large prison. You know, I was angry. The United Nations released a report nearly 10 years ago saying that the damages done to the infrastructure, water, and air in Gaza will make this place unlivable by 2020. I was angry. You know, because peace, to me, should be a fundamental human right. Peace was absent back then and is still absent today as my struggle, my people's struggle for liberty, self-determination, and peace and justice continues to grow. And now, looking back at this time, there are a lot of pieces that I'm missing. I think back at it, and I believe that we as individuals had the opportunity to make a lot of changes. Growing up in Gaza and now making the transition to become doing the work that I'm doing today is very difficult. I look back at it. I started working in the Red Cross, and now I'm working in this field. And I can't stop thinking that how difficult it is to people to realize how hard this work is. We have lost a lot of ideas around peace, and we try to challenge the misconception, social and cultural misconception associated with peace. We need to create the momentum we need to build fresh ideas about peace. You know, nearly 30 years after Oslo, we haven't seen progress. This absence of progress means that there's more apathy, hopelessness, and despair among young Palestinians and Israelis. But more importantly, the absence of progress means that there is more radicalization and there is more polarization among Palestinian youth. This is a scary thought to me because I have 4 children back home and I keep thinking about them. And you know, for young Palestinians and Israelis, a political solution is not possible anymore. Matter of fact, for young Israeli Jews, there is a growing understanding that one single, unequal state is becoming more legitimate, while hatred is the predominant emotion young Palestinians express about the other. I feel that our children deserve better. They look up to us. They need us now more than ever to challenge this social and cultural misconception around peace and rise above hatred. And most importantly, fear, the fear of change is our greatest adversary. We cannot challenge misconception, public perception of peace without acknowledging and understanding years and years of generational and cultural suppression. And while I doubt that authoritarian Palestinian government and Israeli military occupation, and I'm not comparing the two, can shine any hope for positive change, I have to say that I can't stress enough the important work of civil society in Palestine and Israel to connect these young people with political change. It is the work of members under the Alliance for the Middle East, where I work today, can create this important social and political track that we need for democracy, social responsibility, and activism. The work of our 130 members under OLMEB, and also with the support of our partners like Beit of Hope today, can be that engine room we need to create this young leadership, and therefore they will be able to create fresh ideas, momentum that we sorely need. And I need to leave you with a thought. I really hate the phrase, history repeats itself. It's a terrible phrase. I don't want my children to live through the same experiences that I did. When people ask me today, what is peace? What does peace mean to you? Peace to me is to be liberated from my fears. There's a new generation of Palestinians and Israelis. They're ready to make change today. It's our intergenerational responsibility and social obligation to listen, just listen and understand their personal struggle over our national interests. This is a limited opportunity that we have today to disrupt this ugly status quo and create solidarity and a culture of co-resistance across our communities. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eran Nissan, and I'm an Israeli peace activist. I was born and raised in Israel. My father was born in Iran to Iraqi parents who fled their home due to persecution. My mother, she was born in Israel, and her parents came to British Mandate Palestine from Poland and Romania during the 1930s when Europe was becoming a dangerous place for Jews. My fiancée, Shir, who is here with us today, is the granddaughter of Moroccan Jews on one side and Yemenite Jews on the other. You know, they call this building the Palace of Nations, but I feel like I can call the same name our apartment in Tel Aviv. I became a peace activist because of my experiences as a combat soldier in the Israeli Special Forces. I don't know if you know this, but in Israel, military service is mandatory. When you turn 18, you go to the army. When I was younger, this mandatory service was 3 years long. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, and all of us served as combat soldiers in the army, and it happens to be that we are 3 years apart from one another. So my oldest brother, Ishai, served for 3 years, and on the week that he was released, my second brother, Barak, was drafted. And on the week that he was released, I was drafted, and I served for 4 years. So our parents had 10 consecutive years, a decade of sleepless nights. The experiences that I had and the stories I heard from my brothers pushed me into taking a more active role in promoting peace and putting an end to the cycle of conflict, violence, injustice, and oppression. A couple of weeks ago, Wasim and I had a Zoom call to discuss what we're going to talk about today. We opened a joint Google document and wrote the question, what does peace mean to you, at the top of the page. The first thing I did was I deleted the word you, and instead I wrote us. What does peace mean to us? And maybe this is the first answer. Peace is something that we do together. For decades, the Israeli peace camp and the Palestinian peace camp have been working separately to end the Israeli occupation of Palestine and to promote a political resolution to the conflict. But in the past 15 years or so, we have seen the rise of the co-resistance. Organizations like Combatants for Peace or the Parent Circle Family Forum that brings Israelis and Palestinians to share the same space and stand together. The organization that I run, Mechazkim, is a part of the Israeli-Palestinian Peace Coalition that constitutes 28 organizations from both sides and built on the foundation of the most comprehensive and realistic peace plan that was ever drafted, the Geneva Initiative. When Wasim and I first met, it was through an amazing organization called Solutions Not Sides that brings young Israelis and Palestinians together. And our motto at Solutions Not Sides is, don't be simply pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, above all be pro-solution. So the first answer is peace is something that we do together. The second answer is that peace means hope. You heard Wasim speaks about how the status quo failed our generation. I see myself as a generational peace activist. Wasim talked about his responsibilities as a father to look beyond the barriers and seek partners that will help him take down the barriers and dismantle system of oppression. I believe that a conflict that we pass on to our children is a conflict we lost. And Wasim and I are a member of a generation that was born during the first Intifada, grew up during the second Intifada, and experienced 5 wars in Gaza in 14 years. The recent war only weeks ago. Not only that our generation's life was defined by the ongoing conflict, but unlike our parents' generation, it was also defined by the lack of a peace process. We don't have the memories like our parents of the Oslo agreements, when we've seen the leaders of both of our societies, men who spent the majority of their lives seeking security through the use of violence, put their arms aside and extend their arms and seek peace through the means of diplomacy. We have a responsibility to bring back hope to the next generation. You know, they say that it is better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Well, during the Oslo years, our parents experienced both hope and disappointment, but our generation never experienced hope. So peace means hope. And the final and third answer to the question, what does peace mean to us, is that peace means justice. Chapter 1, Article 1 of the United Nations Charter mentions peace and justice in the same breath. The realization that conflict and war originates and are fueled by injustice calls upon all of us to promote justice as an instrument of peace. I believe that we should adopt the principles of transitional justice or restorative justice and apply them to Israel and Palestine. The aim of transitional justice is reconciliation, and reconciliation is the true end of conflict. The aim of transitional justice is reconciliation not as an end goal, but as an ongoing process. So these are our 3 answers, and we will leave you today with them. Peace is something that we do together. Peace means hope, and peace means justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that we ran out of time, but I just want to be clear that I want to send a message home to my kids and say, this is for you, this is for your future. I'm thinking about you right now. I love you. I'll be home soon.